Hi, I'm Madeleine Holly-Rosing, and I'm the creator, writer of the Steampunk Supernatural series, Boston Metaphysical Society. You can find me at www.bostonmetaphysicalsociety.com and also on Kickstarter right now for our Volume 2 Special Edition Hardback. And any place else on social media, just type in Boston Metaphysical and it will pop right up. And you're watching and listening to Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industry. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We are joined today by a returning guest. She has been on the show many times in the past, doing such amazing work with her truly supernatural comic series, as well as an audio production, Boston Metaphysical Society. We're joined by the ever-talented Madeleine Holly-Rosing. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Kurt. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's been far too long since you were last on. I was thinking
I
about
know.
it, and it was like
I know.
an audio drama was the last time we chatted.
Yeah, that was a few years ago, and a lot has happened then. We did finish production on the audio drama and got that shipped out to Kickstarter backers. And in fact, it's available to download pretty much on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Though you can get the CD and a flash drive directly from me, particularly if you like a higher quality sound. Because for those of you out there who don't know, this was a full cast, complete production with audio engineer, music, everything. It's like your old time radio play. And so if you really like high quality sound, I recommend the CDs if you still own a CD player.
I'm sure it'll come back in 20 years if you don't own a CD player. Just borrow your parents' car or something like that.
Yeah, oddly enough, some of these, they do come back.
For those that don't know anything about yourself as a creative person, because they haven't seen, of course, your amazing work with Boston Metaphysical Society, tell us who you are and what you're bringing to the show today.
As I mentioned, I'm the writer-creator of the Steampunk Supernatural series, Boston Metaphysical Society, which is a graphic novel, prose, and audio drama series. And for those who are not familiar with it, it's about an ex-Pinkerton detective, a spirit photographer, and a genius scientist who battle supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston. We started with a 6-issue miniseries with art by Emily Hugh, and then did 4 standalone sequels. Along with that, I wrote a prequel novel and a prequel anthology and an audio drama. We are currently halfway through our new series, Pike's Peak, and we have a change up with the artist, which will be announced shortly. So we will be continuing with that series. And in the meantime, this year, I've done a Kickstarter for a special edition hardback of Volume 1. And the current Kickstarter is for a special edition hardback of Volume 2.
Well, talk about the hardback, because it's obviously you have an amazing cast of characters. You've enjoyed the world that you've built. I've enjoyed reading it, that's for sure. But why did you want to go hardcover for these latest 2 issues?
Actually, it was a fan demand.
Oh.
I kept getting asked at conventions and other places, okay, hardback, because a lot of people, they read the trades, so that gets bent up, but they take the hardback and they put it up and it looks all pretty on the shelf. And that's a display copy, and then the trade paperback is the reading copy that everyone can pass around. So it was just, we've been around for about a decade, and it was time. It was really time to do a hardback. The Volume 1 hardback came out beautifully. We reached enough stretch goals, so we added a satin ribbon and 2-color foil embossing on the cover. And in fact, we're heading towards that right now with the current Kickstarter for Volume 2. We've already added the satin bookmark, and we're about halfway to reaching the foil embossed, which will be 2 colors on the front. And I'm sure we'll put up I'm sure we'll show everyone the Kickstarter at some point in the show. And whereas Volume 1, we had like blue tones and kind of iridescent, this is more hunter green.
Okay.
So I envisioned that the metaphysical part on the logo, that was going to be in green,
Nice.
like an iridescent green, and then the Boston Society will be in silver. So we still have 17 days left at this point. So I think we'll make it. We've got about a little over $1,000 to go. So
Wow.
I cautiously optimistic, as they say.
Was this a collection of your trade paperbacks into finally a hardcover version, or was this a completely brand new story that you were working on, or stories, I should say?
Uh, Both actually.
Okay.
The volume 2 compiles are previously published 4 standalone sequels with art by Gwen Tavares, but I also include a new 10-page bonus story that's exclusive to this edition, plus pinup art that probably a lot of people have never seen. Having been around for a while, pinup art has either sometimes I've commissioned it and sometimes it's just people like, hey, I did this cool thing for you. And I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And, and so I've included it. And it's kind of nice because I let the artist know and said, yeah, it's been a few years, but I'm gonna include yours in this, beautiful hardback edition. You will be immortalized.
It's basically like the best of coffee table books, what those used to be. I instead of
Yeah.
hanging in the shelves, you could just throw it on the coffee table and make sure that someone uses a coaster.
Yes, yes. Always the coaster, of which I don't own any, but I hear other people do.
That's the one thing I love about this world that you've built, the fact that you're looking at the merchandise. You've always had intriguing and interesting merchandise for your backers, for the people that have supported the comic
Mhm.
throughout the years here, from pins to bookmarks to the style of your hardcovers, the fact that you're using beautiful colors and embossing and everything. Like, you're giving someone an experience no matter what they pick up.
Yeah, I try to do that. I want every Kickstarter to be an event, for it to be special. And in this particular one, we're doing a bookmark, like an Art Deco style owl. With both volume 1 and volume 2, I've kind of done this owl theme
Mhm.
throughout. I do everything's kind of themed and has to do with something, usually within the story. And the owl was our original logo back in the
Yeah.
day. And so I said, okay, let's repurpose this. Let's give it a fresh look. And so I hired Alejandro Lee, who I usually do. He has done a lot of my pins and all of my bookmarks. Does a wonderful job. And I'm not sure when this will be dropping. The show will be dropping, but I will be doing add-ons of additional color bookmarks that people can add on. Because right now you just have the copper, but I'm going to be adding on brass and black stainless steel.
Okay.
So you can either get them individually or you can get the set.
Why this edition of themed? Wow. Why do you have the addition of this type of themed merchandise? Is it just something that sets yourself apart from, say, others that are doing comic crowdfunding campaigns, or?
That's part of it, and part of it I just like to do it. And originally, like the pins and stuff really appealed to my steampunk audience. Uh, because the lapel pins, they've always loved that, because if you're cosplaying or going to a steampunk convention or a Comic Con, you can put them on your hat or your lapel. I mean, you can put them anywhere. And I know people who've collected all of them, which is always kind of fun when I see photos of the whole sets come in, that they have them. But I also wanted to do something different other than the lapel pins. And I will have to admit that I stole this idea of the metal bookmarks from Mike Shea, who does Miskatonic High,
Yep.
because I saw one of his. This was a few years ago, and I went like, "This is great. I love this." And so we talk, and I asked him where he got it, and he told me, and the rest is history. So, um, but no, we all talk about it. Did something different, entering stretch goals, reward tiers, that suit our audience and that we think they'll like.
You've had a lot of fan art. You're bringing it into the book. I think that's amazing, fascinating to see. What has been the reaction to, say, someone that knows that their work is getting put into the book maybe it's been a decade or maybe it's been 5 years since they've last seen it? Do they say, wait, no, I want to redo it. I have a better style now.
No, they usually just say, "Oh, wow, thank you. I had no idea, it's great." And I just let them know. Uh, and it's also gives me the opportunity to talk them up on social media because for volume one, we had like Carl Alstetter, Mike Collins, and others that I got to say like, hey, we got these wonderful people, and if you didn't see it before, now you can see it. And for volume two, we've got pinups from Roberta Ingranata and Ashley Woods, and some from Gwen Tavares, our original artist. She had done commissions where she had painted people into the pinup art, and but these are the pinups without the people, obviously, who had done the commission. So they look really cool, and it's a lot of fun to pull all this material together. And all the artists have been very supportive.
The steampunk community has been around for many years now. What do you like about seeing the steampunk community embracing Boston Metaphysical Society? Has anyone cosplayed as any of your characters?
Yes, a long time ago. I think maybe once, but not a lot. I don't think I'm quite big enough in the world for that to really happen. Also, to cosplay in period costume is kind of expensive. So yeah, I think there's a cost in there as well. But yeah, when it did happen, it was pretty exciting. And I've certainly had people talk about wanting to cosplay as characters.
The fact that you have these various historical figures in your actual series itself, I find amazing and fascinating. And you learn more about them as the series goes on, but you also kind of have to go down a bit of a rabbit hole in some cases where you learn more about these characters. What is it about the history of the characters that you've put into your series that people would be surprised about?
I know with Pikes Peak, I brought Tesla back for that series. And I think they would probably be surprised that he actually smoked for a while and then gave it up because he realized, I don't know how he realized, but it was bad for him. So he did. And he also was a bit of a gambler back in the day.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun to integrate that into the storyline. I mean, that's one particular case where it actually, it did happen. Other people like Granville T. Woods, there's not a lot of information on him because he was kind of lost to history and to American history. But that also, as a writer, gave me an advantage because he was sort of a blank slate that me as a writer could go and play with. And that was a lot of fun. So, when people ask me, oh, you have Tesla and Edison in the first 6 issues, and they said, do they get along? And I'm going like, really? You're asking that question? But I mean, pretty much it is fiction. I try to stay thematically accurate to the relationships at the time, but pretty much, everything else is fiction.
But you have to have fun with it too. I mean, being a writer, being a creative person, you have those liberties as you've taken them, and you've made a great story and a great world. So I think that's something that's just timeless. And the fact that you've been doing it for a decade, it's been a great journey so far. What else do you have coming up that you're interested in doing that maybe isn't Boston Metaphysical Society?
I actually have been working on an outline for an entirely new series. Oh. I'm not announcing it yet. I do have an artist in mind. He and I have spoken. I really love his work. So he's sort of kind of penciled in for next year. Hopefully he won't be too busy. But yeah, I mean, the script still has to be written. I'm hammering out the 4th issue. It'll be a 4-issue miniseries. Oh, wow. And I'm about done with the outlining. But with running the Kickstarter and I've had doggy medical issues to deal with, it's been hard to to circle back on that.
Is it a freeing experience to work in a new world with a new batch of characters, or is it just another day in the office?
It's a lot of fun to go play, yeah, in something else. It's like I may or may not have told you that I also wrote a series for Lady Mechanica. That's been going very slowly. I mean, it's written, but Joe takes his time and all of this, but that's okay. I absolutely adored working with Joe and Marcia. I think he's now working on the art for the second issue, and I think once that's done, I have to ask Marcia. I'm guessing based on their previous Kickstarters that probably early next year they'll run a Kickstarter for that. But I do love playing in other people's sandboxes. That's definitely freeing because I can write the story and say like, here, you deal with production. Bye.
Remind the listeners and viewers about that particular series that you just spoke of.
Oh, Lady Mechanica?
Yeah.
It was a creation of Joe Benitez, and I think it has at least 7 volumes out now. I think the Lady in the Lake was number 7 that they just finished, or maybe 8. I have to go back and look because there was another one before mine. There's like Lady in the Lake, and then there was one before mine, and then he was started working on mine. So it's taken a year or two to get down this road, and I understand. It's totally fine.
The campaigns themselves, Kickstarters are just, there's so many out there. There's so many different projects, so many things, but a limited amount of time to get them out there. I'm glad that yours is pretty much done.
I do try to get things done, and sometimes there are things that are beyond my control. But yeah, if you are steampunk fans, I highly recommend Lady Mechanica as well. It's very different than Boston Metaphysical. In fact, I had never read any Lady Mechanica when I was first developing Boston Metaphysical because I didn't want any overlap.
Yeah.
But by the time I came on board to do their story, there's absolutely no overlap. There's no relation whatsoever between the two. The art that Joe does is very stylistic. It's about a woman who like woke up when, has gone through this traumatic experience of like half of her body is now mechanical, and she's trying to find out the person who did this to her, and her adventures along the way. And sometimes there are tangents that lead off away from that task, and then she comes back to it. But great stories, great humanity in the stories, which I really enjoyed. And I know when I first sat down and spoke to Joe and Marcia, it was during the pandemic. So we were all on Zoom and looking pretty ragged by that time. That we were all on the same page thematically, that we all had the same concerns and themes we wanted to deal with in our writing. So it was a good match.
No, that's good to hear. I'm glad. I can't wait to see it. And it's probably
Me too. Me too.
It's one of those series I think I have to pick up. I just haven't had time. So
I would highly recommend it. They're very good. The art, of course, is fantastic. And of course, pick up mine when it's out.
That'll be the first issue I grab rather than, start at the beginning. No, I'm gonna get Madeleine's first for sure. Do you think that the human condition has been lost in terms of comic creators these days, or are people still trying to find a way to create their own stories?
Oh, I definitely think people are trying to find a way to create their own stories. I think that's even more important now than ever, just because of the, how should I put it, turmoil that we are currently living through, the history we're living through. We never imagined that we would be, you think about history and what other people like, oh, I can't imagine how they lived through that. Well, in about 100 years, they're going to be saying the same thing about us. So yeah, sometimes living through history isn't quite what it's cracked up to be.
We can only do so much with the time we have on this world.
Yeah, I think people are really trying their best to get their stories out there, and I want them. I mean, I definitely want them to, because there's so many interesting stories to tell, and I definitely want to listen to them or read them or something.
What was the latest literary journey that you've been on?
Literary journey. I do a lot of audiobooks
Okay.
now because of time, and I need to sleep at some point. So I actually listen to everything from fantasy to hard sci-fi to high fantasy
Wow.
to currently right now I'm almost at the end of and I've never heard her name spoken out loud, so I'm probably going to destroy it. But Tomi Ademayo, who Children of Blood and Bones, and the third book is I think Children of something in Anarchy. I would have to go. I don't remember. Um, absolutely fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and it's a high fantasy
Nice.
Set in a mythical Africa,
Okay.
and using African folklore as its basis, and just the characters and the conflict is just tremendous. My understanding that this was picked up to be developed into a movie or TV series before she even published the first one.
Oh, wow.
I think it's still in development, but development hell, that's that happens
Yeah.
to everybody pretty much. Hopefully that will come out. It's really a fantastic series. There's another one called The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, which is based on Asian mythology, and it's what I would call actually kind of define what's called silk punk, which is a combination of Asian mythology and themes with technology, but set in a fantasy past. And I have to say, they called they did have dragons in there, but they called them Garanoffins.
Right.
But it was the first time I'd ever read or heard a battle between dragons and airships. It was freaking fantastic.
Wow.
It was, and what was even better was all the characters were really smart.
Nice.
So they kept one-upping each other. And so you're like, oh my God, what are they going to do next? What are they going to do next? What are they going to do next? And you have battlefield commanders who are just on it and who can change on a dime. And wow, it's really, really tremendous. I always talk about that, but yeah, it kind of started the whole what they call silk punk.
Nice.
But yeah, I listened to a lot of that, but probably my all-time favorite audiobook over the last 10 years would be Martha Wells's Murderbot Diaries.
Oh, okay.
And that's sci-fi. That is actually being made into a live-action TV series,
Wow.
which I think is going to be amazing. They've already cast at least part of it. If anyone is new and have never dabbled into science fiction at all, I would start with the Murderbot Diaries because it's very contemporary in its outlook. It's funny as all get out, and it's not really dense. So most people can wrap their heads around it. It's not like reading Dune or Hyperion or something like that,
yeah.
which you kind of have to hardcore sci-fi.
A little heavy for the first time.
Yeah, it's a little heavy for the first time, but if you're brand new, yeah. And they've won everything from the Hugo to the Lotus to the Nebula to, I mean, everything. Okay. I really admire Martha Wells. She started out as, she's a fantasy writer, and she's been one for quite a long time. And she started seeing her career start to degrade. Oh. And over time with her fantasy books. And then she was thinking like, this may be it. Because, she got the 3-book deal and the 2-book deal and the 1-book deal. And you see the handwriting on the wall. Yeah. She came up with the Murderbot Diaries. And these are primarily novellas with a few novels in between. Okay. And her agent's going like, oh, yeah, these should probably do well. This is great. They like blew up. And they completely redefined her career. Nice. She got new 6-figure, 6-book deals. It completely invigorated everything. Marvelous writer, but yeah, if you have not listened or read the Murderbot Diaries, yeah, you need to go do that.
I actually haven't, but now
Yeah.
I'm going to. This is now a check mark on the list. So there you go. Talk about the Kickstarter campaign. Let me pull it up real quick here.
Sure. See, that's the new add-ons. You can order 3 of the Art Deco style owl metal bookmarks. How many stretch goals we've reached as of that's a mock-up of obviously our cover, the book, the hardcover, with the cover's done by Claudia Annunziello. And yeah, you can get a hardback, you can get a softback. There's a digital level as well. We have like a basic digital level, or you can get both volumes for digital. You can get a comic bundle digital, and then all of the physical rewards include domestic or US postage. And then our starter kit, I always have a starter kit you see there. That's for folks who are brand new to the series and also like prose, but want to get the pretty cover softback of volume 1 of the special edition. And what's nice about this is that you get your prose fix, you get your graphic novel fix, but the two, when you read them together, provide you with the foundation for the entire series.
Do you like writing prose better than comics sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, it's a little more freeing, but I like doing both. And then that's our digital comics and prose bundle, where you can get all of our current stuff in digital and also the novel and the anthology. Yeah, and you can get both of the softbacks, and that also includes the PDFs. And those are the covers on the, I guess, my left there, of the 4 standalone sequels that are in this volume 2.
Great names, by the way. I've always loved your namings.
Oh, thank you. And then the premium digital package includes everything plus a digital download of the audio drama.
These images here.
That's from Scourge, the first 3 pages of The Scourge of the Mechanical Men. The art there is by Gwen Tavares. And that's the first page of our bonus story with art by Claudia Balboni. It's called The Ghost Collector. I was going to have a special thing with that owl, but it didn't work out. So maybe later.
What was it going to be, a plushie or something?
I thought the plushie would be done in time, and it's not. So that will be for another campaign. Yeah, and you get the first 2 issues. You can get the first. That's obviously the cover of the audio drama, and then we do have the first 2 issues available for Mystery at Pikes Peak, and that's all the tiers. Unfortunately, we're way past the early bird special time. Those are in the first 3 days, so yeah, I'm afraid folks have missed that. We have a nothing but books packages, because I know some people are just nutso and just like to hold all the books, have everything. And that includes the hardback and the softbacks of the novel and the anthology, the coloring book, all sorts of great things. The everything package as well, basically everything we possibly have. Not quite everything, almost everything. They get the hardbacks, the 2 prose books. You get PDFs of 2 short stories, the lapel pins, the coloring book, the CD and the flash drive, whole bunch of stuff. Lots and lots of goodies, plus the 12 additional digital comics if you pledge to a reward.
If you are bored with everything else you've read, this is the perfect time to jump in with absolutely everything that Madeleine has created. So operators are standing by. Is there anything that I haven't touched on you'd like to share about yourself or the comics or anything along that line that, those that are watching and listening to this interview should know about?
If you like paranormal and gas lamp fantasy and steampunk and character-driven comics, then Boston Metaphysical Society is definitely for you. We have a lot of fun. I do try to include. If there's science in a story, I try to make it accurate if I can. I can't always do that, but sometimes the story takes precedent. But it's a good ride, and it's a lot of fun.
And you have fun doing it, and I know we have fun reading it. That's the main thing. So may you have this series for another 10 years or so, or whenever you'd like to eventually stop it, but I think it'll be on everyone's lexicon for many years to come, for sure.
Well, thank you very much.
I do hate to say this, Madeleine, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. Thank you so much for coming back on the show, and you're always welcome back anytime, for sure.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So where can we find you? How can we support you? And anything else you'd like to promote, just to kind of wrap things up?
Right now, we'll be on Kickstarter for the Volume 2 Special Edition, and you can also get the Volume 1 Special Edition as well until October 31st of 2024. You can also find me on our website. Either type in Boston Metaphysical Society or Queen of Mercia. That's my company name. It all goes to the same spot. I'm on Facebook at Boston Metaphysical Society Comic. Twitter, now known as X, as M. Holly-Rosing. Instagram is mholly1. But pretty much if you just go to any search engine and type in Boston Metaphysical, you'll be able to find me.
Well, like I said, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talk. You can, of course, find this interview and 1,200 plus others on our website, tgtmedia.com or twogeekstalking.com. That's TWO, not the number 2. Website's going through a complete revamp. You can find all of these, though, definitely at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGTmedia. The podcast you can find at twogeekstalking.podbean.com or just search Two Geeks Talking wherever you get your podcasts. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.